To many people, it's a scam in the sense that they feel like their votes are not counting. And that's when you have this feeling of, oh yes, it's a scam. When you've done your own path, and at the end of the day, the more you look, the less you see. I think it can trigger that reaction from people.
It almost looks like the concept itself is a scam in Nigeria, but I think it's more about the practice of it, the way democracy is translated and interpreted in Nigeria so far. It's not being inclusive for young people to participate. It's not being inclusive for the office of the people to even be part of the processes. And the truth is, we have been coming out and trying to demand. So I would say, it's a scam, but life is not black and white. Zachary.
They finished elections on Saturday. Sunday morning, the person that lost the elections went on TV and said, I congratulate my opponent. He was...
Oh, wow.
I think let's stop fighting, especially in the tribalistic aspect of it.
I think that we lost an opportunity when we put that proviso in our Electoral Act to say where electronic transmission fails, we'll go back to a manual system, because we are taking one step forward and almost two steps back, which is quite sad. Let us have it in the law. The technology will figure itself out.
Hi, beautiful people. My name is Zachary Emmanuel, and I'm the host for Beyond the Ballot podcast, where we talk everything beyond elections. And today's episode promises to be exciteful and fireful because we have three amazing guests in the house. We're going to be talking about democracy exposed, democracy in a scam. I believe the audience would know better, but the guest should know even better. And today, we are right here for it. Mr. Ibrahim, welcome.
I don't know why I call you Mr.
Ibrahim, welcome.
Thank you.
Pelomo, welcome.
Thank you.
Ozamaka, welcome.
Thank you.
I have a big concern, and I think Nigerians' democracy is a scam. That's my personal opinion, and you can argue with me. But Ozamaka, do you think Nigerian democracy is a scam?
To many people, it is. Yeah. To many people, it's a scam in the sense that they feel like their votes are not counting. And that's when you have this feeling of, oh yes, it's a scam. When you've done your own path, and at the end of the day, the more you look, the less you see. I think it can trigger that reaction from people into believing that it's a scam. So yeah, me personally, do I have an opinion?
You should have. You must have in this Nigeria.
Yeah, I think I align with most people in that regard, where there's nothing, there hasn't been a lot of things that would make us believe otherwise. Yeah, so I think I agree.
Pearl, do you agree it's a scam? Is it inclusive or it's a scam?
When you say a scam, I think that it overgeneralizes in the sense that it almost looks like the concept itself is a scam in Nigeria, but I think it's more about the practice of it, the way democracy is translated and interpreted in Nigeria so far. It's not being inclusive for young people to participate. It's not being inclusive for the office of the people to even be part of the processes. And the truth is, we have been coming out and trying to demand. If I'm going to be very honest, there are people that have been pushing for action, and it has been tiny, tiny trickles of success, but we are progressing. So I would say, it's a scam, but it doesn't mean
you agree with me. Just say you agree with me.
Life is not black and white.
I saw what you did there, Sha. But Ibrahim, do you think it's a scam or is inclusive?
So I think I'm a bit of an optimist. So I will not say our democracy is a scam. But I agree with Pearl. One of the things she said was, our practice of democracy leaves a lot to be desired. But one example I give people, I say in the 2023 elections, about 5 former governors ran for Senate seats and they lost. 5 former governors lost elections. So when we say, oh, sometimes our votes don't count, I'm like, they're like some small spots, some small bright spots that you can see that say, oh, there's small hope. But when you look at the bigger picture, sometimes you can get a bit more disappointed because in our political system, sometimes you think the governors are the yam and the knife. They determine everything. But we saw 5 Senate seats where the people in those constituencies decided who became their senator, because ultimately democracy is about people. But Pearl, my boss, has told us that that the practice of democracy needs to improve so much more for us to beat our chest and say this democracy no be scam.
But I love the fact that you've given reference to the last election in Nigeria. But in your view, do you think there are reforms that can be made in Nigeria that can be more participatory, that can get persons with disability, get women, get young ladies, even young guys to come out and exercise their franchise or be part of the system in any way? Do you think there are reforms?
Definitely. There are so many more reforms that we can do around the practice of our democracy that can make it more participatory. So we see things, one, like overseas voting or early voting. Take early voting, for instance. On election day, say maybe estimates up to 4 million Nigerians don't vote because they work on election day. So either you are an observer, you're an ad hoc staff, you're a media, security agencies, up to 4 million. And I can see you're wearing the colors of Sierra Leone. And Sierra Leone, the entire population is closer to 4 million than to the 200 million we have in Nigeria. So it just tells you that so many Nigerians want that opportunity. For one reason or another, they can't.
I was even going to say, as of recent, the lockdown that happened in the FCT where some people did not vote.
Exactly. So that's another conversation, how we lock down the entire country on election day. People cannot move. Even if you're going to your polling unit to vote, they'll say, oh, you can't go. Even if you show them, oh, this is my permanent voter's card, my polling unit is just across this barricade, you're disenfranchised. So there's a lot that needs to change, a lot of reforms that need to happen.
I don't know, Pearl, if you have a contrary opinion or if you subscribe to what Mr. Ibrahim has said.
No, I totally agree. And I think from my stance as an artist, I know that power is something that can be shifted. And when people realize their power, they are able to move. And yesterday, somebody was saying something very interesting in one of the classes I was attending. She was saying that, okay, if we know that they're going to try to buy our votes and all of that, how about we start pricing them higher? Like, okay, give us 1 million. Give us 1 million then each. And then how many people are they going to be able to pay off? So just creatively thinking of new ways we can go about it, because it's not very easy to go and tell somebody, oh, don't sell your votes. So like, who are the people, who are the constituents, and how can you work with them to making sure that they realize their own power? And just to go off what Ibrahim said about the whole lockdowns that happened during election, I know that in 2022 election, like I fought to get my PVC. I know it was hard for me because I used crutches, and it was a whole thing that day to even get my PVC. Well, I got it. Now, on the day of election, there was no movement, and me, I use boats to move around. I cannot walk. So it's difficult for me to move around. And my mom was just like, don't go anywhere. It's not safe. So for persons with disabilities, for instance, it's even harder. So those barriers that close off access for us make it even more difficult. So I think that when we're doing reforms, we need to think of it from a bottom-up approach.
And I'm happy you've mentioned this, because for the first time, I've thought about it, but never thought about it from the angle of even the boat driver that needs to move people around. I don't know, Uzo, do you?
No, I totally agree, especially from the standpoint of persons with disabilities. As of the last time there was a census, we had over 30 million people with disabilities in Nigeria, and the majority of them are eligible voters, right? And it's not just physical disability where, it's the walking. Let's say the disability of the blind, people that are blind, how do they know? Our ballot papers are not inclusive. How would you know who you want? You have to trust someone, and you don't even know if the person is telling you the truth, right? So there are so many processes that need to happen to ensure that people like, no matter your position, whether you have a disability, whether you're a young person, young people already, I don't even know how to explain it, but young people, there's so many things happening to us, especially from the cultural point of view, where we're all about respect your elders, right? And you go to vote, and people who feel like, oh, they're older than you. They are telling you what to do, right? I remember I was in Nigeria, was it 2019 election? And I was part of the, what do you
Observers?
call it? No, the people that do the actual...
Ad hoc stuff.
Ad hoc stuff.
Okay, ad hoc.
Yes.
Okay.
Ad hoc stuff. And I remember, there was, obviously, some things would happen at the presidencies. And one of the people that was screaming at us, the staff, to do what they wanted, was coming from the point of, I'm older than you. And I was like, you're older than me, but then what you're doing, am I supposed to learn from you? What you're telling us to do shows that you do not have integrity, right? So these are things we need to look at when we want to be inclusive. So many people, based on maybe their disability, their age, or their gender, there are some communities in Nigeria where women are not allowed to come out. They are not allowed to vote. They are not seen as full human beings, right? So these are things we need to put into consideration where we want to talk about reforming electoral processes.
So for me, as a young person, sometimes I just want to shout. I just want to rant. Like, I just want to say my mind without being articulate. I just want to say it the way it be. Ibrahim, my question is, how can young people, citizens, or young people like myself, engage constructively without being cynical, without being disengaged, and without causing problem? Because some of us just want to cause the problem. I don't know.
So I think one of the first things that is very important for young people is political education. And because political education helps you to understand the processes, the systems, how things work, who is responsible for what and when and where. So you could have an issue in your community, and this is the responsibility for a local government chairman, for instance. But you can decide that you're targeting your anger at the president because you do not understand that, the president is not going to come to your local government area and fix a culvert or that pothole, So you start to get angry, you start to get disengaged, disenchanted, or cynical. Because you expect one person who is an elected official, and I'm not saying he's not accountable for his own things, but being able to channel accountability to the right person, to the right elected official, so to speak. So first is around political education, and then third is around participating in the process one way or another. In some communities or some local government areas, some states, there is, during the budget preparation process, citizens are able to come and make presentations and say, the budget for last year wasn't enough for health, wasn't enough for education, wasn't enough for this, and make a case. And we've seen it, I think it happens in Kaduna State as well, where citizens participate in the process, and you can track and see whether whether your input is reflected in the next budget cycle. To be honest, it's a bit more difficult to do that at a national level or with public hearings in the National Assembly, and sometimes access is a bit harder. But I think political education, getting involved in the processes with ministries, department agencies, elected officials, and also political parties. But maybe we can talk about political parties later.
Pearl, I don't know if you resonate with what Ibrahim has shared.
100%. I think that when trying to push for any change, I can be very radical.
I know you.
Yes, I will love it.
I will call you out. I will call you out, right? But I've really been learning the difference between activism and advocacy and how both of them are necessary. But there's a time and place for both. Because you can't be using your radical approach to push for a reform or change with somebody that has the power. You're offending them and they're like, okay, so politics is very, it can be very sensitive. So you need to know how to move around it without pushing your own cause to the back as well. So for me, that's something that's always been a bit difficult, but just learning how to channel my own cause in a way that is very constructive and people will listen to me. Even in the way I do my art now, I'm still radical. But I'm learning like when and where to do it. So I do think that education is necessary, because if you don't understand who the people are, you don't do your research, because even people that sit in political offices are human beings. So you need to understand those people. You need to understand what the office is, and you need to know how to push the change constructively. So yeah, I totally agree with my boss.
Zamaka.
Yeah, I also agree with what both of them have said, where we also, as young people, we tend to be overly hot, which is good. This is our time to shine. But we should also understand that there's a place and time, right? And I think one thing that has pushed most young people in Nigeria in particular, has pushed us to that point is we've gotten to the point where most Nigerian youths have lost hope, and they feel like the only way for them to get what they want is through fighting and through shouting, which is understandable. But you also need to think back, like if you fight and shout, has it actually achieved anything? Has it worked for you? You know, if it has, then fine, you move ahead with it. But if it hasn't, then there's a time to re-strategize. You come back and you listen. Then there's this thing called mirroring, where you look at, so if you want to get someone to like you, most of the time you're encouraged to mirror the person, right? So I'm not saying mirror the lack of integrity of those in politics, but looking at them, how do they interact? How do they move? You know, trying to see what can you mirror in them to get them to listen to you. Not the bad character of them, but then, yeah, there may be something. Maybe there's a food they like that. Just think, how do you mirror them to get them to actually want to listen to you? And then people, when you're aggressive at first instance, people tend to back off.
Sure.
Yeah. Right? So how do you approach them? Most of them they already know Nigerians are angry. So once you are coming, they're wary, like they are on the defensive side. So calm them down, then attack. That's, yeah.
I think I love that. Calm them down and then attack.
Yeah.
Politics is dirty, they say in Nigeria, and young people don't want to get involved because it's indeed dirty. We don't feel like it's dirty. We really need to wash it. Ibrahim, you've been doing, I see most times you go around different TV stations telling us to come out, telling young people to come out. First of all, I like to say we, because I identify strongly as a young person, not just being a young person. How do we change the mindset that politics is dirty? Because everything lies in politics. If we say democracy is a scam, or it's not inclusive in Nigeria, it still lies in politics, because the people that we want them to change the system, some of them don't even listen to our podcast. Some of them are in their offices. They just go to the National Assembly, do their thing, and then they leave. How can we get young people to be involved?
We need to understand that, and I love that you said it's like almost everything revolves around politics. So the price of data, the price of fuel,
like
the price of bread, the price of gari, politics affects all of those things one way or another. And if we think that, everyone in politics is dirty, then there's no way politics is going to become clean if those with integrity, those with competence, with character, get into the system. We're going to leave it for those who we think are dirty, and the system is going to remain that way. It's never going to change. But young people, and I love being young because we're also very hopeful.
Yeah.
Regardless of what. So you can decide to say, I'm going to join this party because I want to make a change. Unfortunately, you might join and find out you're the one person there that wants to make a change. And the truth of the matter is, most times when that happens, that one person joins the dirty side, because it's like, I'm just one person trying to fix everything. Everything is against me. Like, if you cannot beat them, just join them, kind of thing. But if you now have more people who are saying, let's get things done the right way, from within our political parties, how we select candidates, what we do on election day, let's, get into political parties as much as possible and start making that change. When I started doing work around politics, there's one saying that someone mentioned to me. I don't remember who. He said, you cannot tell the color of the furniture from outside the house. You know, so if you're standing outside, you can't tell the color of the furniture. So you need to go in, you know, and then you now say, this furniture is not nice. I don't like this color. And then you bring your paint and then you now change the color. But you need a lot of people to come in together with you and gradually get that done.
Still on politics, but maybe from a different angle. How inclusive is Nigerian politics in terms for women now? Because I feel we just have 4 women in the Senate.
In the Senate, yeah.
Yeah, we have 4 women in the Senate. And we know the backlash that one has been going through, the back and forth, at the whole attack. We're not going to be mentioning her name here. But beyond even politics, it's the everyday life for women. Living as a woman in Nigeria, there's a whole lot that women go through. Help me understand you from your mindset, from where you stand as a woman, Pelamo.
That's an intense question.
because you are feeling
I'm already feeling because as a man, I'm already feeling what happens at the National Assembly. I already feel how women were fighting for the affirmation, the special seats for women. There's a whole lot. You're even in your house, you're still fighting for women. You go outside, you're fighting for women. And I'm here just thinking as a man, like, are we even inclusive? Do we even think about women when we build buildings? How do women go up on it? Even in offices for promotions. My mind is just all over the place for women.
So this is a very intense question. And I think, is it last week? It was a very intense feminist moment for me. And I think it's a systemic issue. When we think about the systems that are put in place worldwide, these systems do not allow for women to have their full range of expression. So if we're going to talk about it from just the family level, talking about the hierarchy in the family level, then talking about it at the societal level before we even come to the political level, we're already talking about different levels of segregation, different levels of prejudice and discrimination. And all of them have their own factors, their cultural factors, their religious factors. There are so many different factors that impede women actually getting their rights met. And people don't understand the concept of equity so much. And me, I'm someone that is not pro-capitalism because I guess I'm a person with a disability and there are some people with disabilities that cannot even work. So do we say that because you cannot work, then you don't deserve anything, right? And I think of equity meeting people where they need to be met. And I think of women too. Women too need equity in different positions of power. If women are going to run, women need equity because the system already has disadvantaged women. So if I'm going to run for office, for instance, I cannot reach the same quota that a man will reach because I'm already left out. I saw some tweets, like yesterday, I think.
Okay.
Some people were saying, I'd rather, what did they say? Oh, God. I'd rather a dog rule me than a woman to rule me. I'll make sure I rig that election if a woman wants to become president. I'm like, where did that prejudice come from? Like, where do you people... Why so against this? Where is the hate coming from, right? So I think it's a systemic issue, it's a cultural issue, and I think that there's a lot of work to do in sensitizing people about women, not objectifying women, and seeing us as human beings before we can even see us as leaders, right? So I try to push the work from my own perspective. I also try to understand where the perception is coming from and try to tackle that. But we have a long way to go because how can a woman become a leader if in her own household she's being objectified and treated like less? So yeah, there's a lot to say.
There's a whole lot to say because my mind is already tilting towards feminism, and I know Uzomaka is a proud feminist, right? I know you to be a proud feminist, and there's a thin line between feminism, acceptance, and the reality of things in Nigeria, and then the misinterpretation of women. Because maybe, for example, you just stand up or you say something, you don't do that to a woman, they already say that feminist, so then be. Do you think there's a need for a mental shift? Because I feel like society is already programmed in a way.
I don't know if there's still need for mental shift because for how many years, for how many decades, for how many centuries would we still be begging for crumbs, right? I mean, almost literally everyone came through a woman, and then you still don't see this person as a human. Like the person that brought you into this world is not qualified to be a human. What does that make you as a person if the person that brought you into this world is literally not human enough? Then are you human? And Nigeria in particular, our culture, our religion. I saw something the other day that said, if religion doesn't exist, women would have equal opportunities. I think religion is one of the perpetrators. Because literally every religion in the world is built on the subjugation of women.
Okay, it's getting intense in this room.
Seriously, like at least the major religions are built to subjugate. They are built to not see women as humans. And I don't know why. Like, I don't even know. I'm a Christian, actually. I accept it. But I also don't accept that I am serving a God that does not see me as a human being the way people in religious positions talk about women. So I actually have a different God. I don't know about others. And, this God that they serve. My own God sees me as a full human. So I think there's so many, like Philemon said, there's so many prejudices. And one major part of them is the one of sexual harassment, where especially men in these positions, once they see a woman winning, one of the ways they want to bring her down is through sexual harassment. Because it makes it's something that they feel like they can hold over a woman. And that's why, like, we're not mentioning names, but, some of the controversies that has happened, it's centered around that, because men see it as, oh, this is one of the ways I can, bring her down a notch, right? And gender roles is also another reason why we have this kind of problems where as a woman, first of all, you're expected to get married, have kids, cater to those kids. You see men, I've seen men who are motivational speakers and they say, oh, I grind a lot. I go to work 6 to 6 or 6 to 9 p.m. I come back late. But you have a family, you have kids. Who is taking care of them? Men don't think that. Like, you wake up in the morning, you go to the gym, you come back from the gym, there's breakfast for you, you eat your breakfast, you take your bag, you go to work, you stay at work till 9 p.m. But your kids are thriving. Your household is thriving. There's somebody who is sacrificing her life to do that for you, right? That woman, how is she going to get to that leadership position when she's doing that for you and you're thriving? So gender roles is one of the things. The example of tweet that Pelomo gave, I saw one that was actually hilarious. One said, I'd rather move to Mexico. And I'm like, Mexican president is a woman.
Claudia Sheinbaum is a woman.
So it was quite funny reading that. So yeah, so many things are stopping. Like there are so many systems, institutions that are stopping women from getting into leadership positions, and we need to start tackling them from the roots.
Okay, I love the fact that you all are well-traveled. Uzamaka, you've lived a large part of your life in Europe. Ibrahim does a whole lot of work around different countries in Africa. Pearl, you're also well-traveled.
And you as well.
I thank God. I thank God. For me, I'm looking at how can we collaborate with other systems where democracy is working. Because I feel you feel more safe, Uzo, to walk on the street of Europe as a woman. Ibrahim, you've traveled lots of countries. You've done lots of work around this thing. You've seen it in different places work, right? How can we borrow this concept or this idea from other countries and bring it to our country? Because I feel we are the people that can actually bring it. We'd have actually gone outside and see how it works and then replicate it here in Nigeria.
So I'm going to be a bit controversial with the country, and I'm going to name the country that we can learn from.
Okay.
Ghana.
Ghana, no.
No, let's hear him. Let's hear.
How can they be challenging us with jollof?
Let's not just fight.
You didn't even mention South Africa. Let's not
just fight over jollof rice. So in Ghana, right from when you go to university or polytechnic, you can join a political party as a young person, and they remain in those political parties almost for the rest of their life.
Oh, wow.
And they learn political education, they learn the ideology of those parties from that very basic stage in a tertiary institution. If you see the level of voter turnout that they have, 60%, 70%, 80% in an election,
Oh, wow.
especially young people come out to vote. The FCT elections were a few days ago. And I came out to vote. When I went to my polling unit, there were 3 of us. And some polling units were just 1 person. But in Ghana, people were coming out. Like, so many people were coming out to vote. They were so eager to participate. Violence was very low. They trust the electoral outcome. They finished elections on Saturday. Sunday morning, the person that lost the elections went on TV and said, "I congratulate my opponent. He was winner," because he trusted that the process would finish counting. So there are things that we can learn from Ghana. And please, Ghanaians watching this, come and learn how to cook jollof rice from us. But there's so many other things that we can learn from other countries, and we don't need to go far to see it work. We see how they've used technology. Technology works for them. On election day, there's this restriction of movement does not happen. I saw people at the motor park. They will vote and they will travel and go where they are going.
Oh, wow.
They have a braille ballot as well for visually impaired people. They've trained them on which candidate is going to be number 1, number 2. So you just read the braille by yourself and you thumbprint, because there's a box, they give them like a sleeve. Oh, wow. Put your ballots, you check the braille and you thumbprint. Like things worked. And I'm like, I know we're not really neighbors, but they're not so far away from us, but still come and learn how to cook jollof. We can learn from other people. Take the best practices around how things work. And then also, let's give them the best jollof recipe, and then everybody's happy.
I agree with Ibrahim. I also think that something I've been doing recently is learning more about Nigeria's history as well. And going back to pre-colonial times and even before Nigeria was amalgamated and what was happening then, how did it happen? I think it's so interesting, especially reading books by Maxio Luna, and it's just like learning about how things worked then. I think first of all, what that does is it inspires yourself about where you're living. Because when you now go to states like Kano and you see some of those monuments, you're like, wow, I actually can relate to this. This is my life. The stories are interesting. The stories are very dynamic, but they are real, and you are here, and it's a part of your life, and you feel more motivated to act. But apart from being motivated to act, you understand why things happen the way they happen, how we got here. And then when you're able to even understand that, have that foundation first of all, you can now look at other countries and how they're doing it and adopt it in a way that works for the country, as opposed to just borrowing things from other countries and trying to replicate them exactly as they are. Because Nigeria has its own specific issues, right? In cultural factors, religious factors, ethnic factors as well. So obviously you cannot just copy and paste someone else's democracy. It will not work, right? It will not work. So I think that there's still room for innovation, but also just doing your comparative analysis or whatever, looking at other countries and what makes it safer there. Why do people want to vote more in Ghana, for instance, and then compare it to Nigeria and how Nigeria has evolved and how we can bring in some of the things they are doing and also innovate new ways of doing it for our own people.
Brilliant.
He
had to sigh.
No, there's a whole lot to learn, and I'm actually glad listening to both of you. I think one thing we can learn, I think let's stop fighting, especially in the tribalistic aspect of it. We're only united on Twitter when we want to fight another country, and it's not. Yeah, it's not nice. I think if we can, apart from this other country that had a war based on tribe, and then Nigeria, I don't know about. Okay, yeah, there are some African countries that have done, but I think the most intense.
Rwanda,
I know. I didn't want to mention their name, but yeah. But I think in Nigeria, it's still very much, even after the civil war, that tribe is still very much existing. The root is still there, and that is where we have a major problem, where people would rather they would rather vote the worst person than vote for somebody from a certain tribe, right? Or somebody that is not from their tribe. And that is one of the things that is keeping us where we are, that is hindering our progress. So if we can stop that fight, where I've been to countries where, people are from different places. One of the countries that I've lived in, Italy, where you hear Italy, you hear Italians, but you would not know that there are so much difference. Like they are in each of the cities. They are different. Their food is different. They are still united. They are still they represent when they go out, they answer Italians, they are food. But us in Nigeria, we have that problem of
from the north and from the south, and Igbo,
just want
Yoruba,
to be from this place, from this place, from this place. And it is really hindering us. So if you can learn that unity, right? I know it's difficult. Our colonizers did us strong thing by bringing people who were not meant to be. Like, there are so many differences. I understand that. But if we can look for that unique factor that will bring us, we are looking for the betterment. There's so much to fight about outside. So let's find one thing that will unite us as a people, particularly as young people. They say we are the future, even though sometimes it's looking like, are you sure I'm the future? This person, no one died. Like, yeah. But really, yeah, if we can find that factor, one thing to hold on to that will make us united and come together and say, oh, we want to save Nigeria. We want Nigeria to work. I think that would be better.
Beautiful. I want to just hear maybe real quick, the place of technology in this whole thing. Because I feel like the world is a global village. You can easily just see what's happening in another country without even traveling there, and actually see how demonstrations is happening in other countries and get inspired by it, build momentum here, and then also drive an engagement here that can actually change things. Has the place of technology made it easier or worsened the thing?
I can't speak so much for tech because I don't say like, oh, I know everything, like how the BIVAS sorts and everything. But I think tech always makes things easier. I personally think that tech makes things easier. So I think there is a place to embrace it. It makes it more inclusive for people. It makes it easier. It makes it something like accessible to more people. So I think there's a place for tech in the electoral process and just generally, yeah.
So I asked that question because of the whole transmission of results and the whole challenge and the back and forth with the Electoral Act. So I'm particular about technology. If that is not working, are there other ways you can go about it? Because if you say that you don't want to pass the Electoral Act because you believe that it might fail, I believe that POS machines are in different communities and villages, right, Mr. Ibrahim?
Yeah, so technology can be both good and bad, let's be honest. And Pearl and Zoamaka are sharing experiences around technology-facilitated gender-based violence, hate speech on the internet. Sure. That's what that's one side of it. Sure. We also have artificial intelligence, which is also making our lives easier. Some will say it's making young people lazy. But we also need to understand our context and how technology is improving. We've had technology in our elections before the BIVAS. We had the smart card readers. And with improvements in technology, as we advance as a country, we can also advance with technology and also have a legal framework that backs it up. I think that we lost an opportunity when we put that proviso in our Electoral Act to say where electronic transmission fails, we'll go back to a manual system, because we are taking one step forward and almost two steps back, which is quite sad. Let us have it in the law. The technology will figure itself out. And as we go from one electoral process to the processes, the technology will become better. In the Gambia, they don't use any technology for their elections. And let me just say very quickly how they vote in the Gambia. They have these marbles, these small stones.
Interesting.
And then they give you a marble, you go, the drum is painted in political party colors, you drop the marble, everybody hears the sound, they know you voted. But that is what works for them. They do not have very high literacy levels And that's what works for them. They understand it. What works for us is we have higher literacy levels. We are more technologically advanced, but we want to go back and say, oh, we're not going to use this technology. I really don't understand it. When we have technology that works for us, and like you said, we have BVAS, we have ATMs, technology in even the most remotest areas that we're afraid that BVAS will not work. It's really hard to understand. I hope we have an opportunity to continue to push for the use of more technology in our election. It's not a silver bullet, but it helps with transparency of the process a lot more.
Ibrahim, your final word?
Participate, especially if you're a young Nigerian, you know. Democracy is about the people. And as young Nigerians, we make up the largest demographic. Whether it's to come out to protest, whether it's to join political parties, whether it is to come out and vote, you know, participate in the process and come out, drag everybody in your house, drag your whole squad, you know, drag Matt, Jamie and everybody, the whole squad will come. The whole squad will
like that.
And let's participate, because for me, when we say democracy is about the people, it's not enough that on election day, Zachary will go out and it's just no one else is going out. You know, you want to join a political party. I don't know if you're joining a political party, but using as an example, you have to join a political party, it's only you. Drag somebody else with you. That person will bring someone else. If you want to go and join a peaceful protest, I said peaceful protest, so if you're watching a peaceful one, you know, bring somebody along with you. Let us participate in those things that can bring about positive change in our democracy and in our country.
Kyle, one final word.
I like Ibrahim has said everything.
Like
squad, come outside. I think that apart from participation, something that is also really important is education. So know your stuff. There's so much confidence that comes with knowing, being aware of the process. So like, you know what to do, you know what this thing is. And don't just know, also share that information. It's really not that hard to share information. We share all those bad tweets all the time. We can definitely share information about how people can be better leaders and how people can do better. On their own level, anybody can be the one to push the change or start a movement. So educate yourself, learn more about your country, the history, and make sure that you're carrying people along in the process.
Also,
I would say to young people, don't give up. Who are you leaving Nigeria for? Yeah. Because eventually you're the future. No matter how long that future takes to happen, you will still build the future. And if you don't work for that future now, you might be at a point where you no longer have the strength, and then everything is in shambles. So think about your own future. Think about, you might say, oh, this person has been there for years. If the person eventually goes, what happens to you? Right? How do you plan for your old age? How does it happen for you, for your kids? You're bringing kids into this world. What do you? So don't give up hope. I know it's looking like your vote is not counting. It's looking like your participation, everything, you know, nothing is working, right? I understand, but let it not derail. Find one little thing that will motivate you, and then use that thing to push yourself. Go out there, vote. Hopefully one day things will work out best.
Hopefully one day things will work out best. And this is that moment where we have to draw the curtains. But we've been listening to three amazing guests in the house: Ibrahim, Pelamo, and Uzomaka. And the conversation has been so fireful. One thing that stood out for me, participate. And you could hear that in the room and in the conversation. Beyond the ballot, we talk about everything beyond elections. And to talk about everything beyond elections, we really need to participate. Don't just sit in your room and tweet. Don't just make noise on social media. Come out and be involved. Beyond the Ballot project is brought to you by Zachary Emmanuel with support from Nigerian Youth Futures Fund.